You know, Travis, I like that. Move a little forward, hold that, splice that, and I'm going to tell these people over here what we are doing. My name is Thomas Biebers, and we are currently editing an episode of Generation to Generation with my buddy Travis here at the Vibrant Audio Studios in Sun City, California.
How's it going?
Again, my name is Thomas Biebers. I'm the co-creator of the series Generation to Generation, along with my wife Teresa. Now, let me explain to you what we're doing. Number one, I am part of the second generation, which means my father was a survivor of the Holocaust. Before he passed in 2014, he wanted to make sure that the stories that we tell are accurate, not the Hollywood's version, but really what took place. And by doing that, we like to tell individual stories about individual survivors and their offspring. Like I said, sadly, there are not a lot of survivors around anymore. So we have to turn to the second and third generations to tell the stories of their respective survivor. So I'm going to answer some specific questions about what we're doing and what the series is about. Question number one, what is Generation Generation? Well, I kind of answered that already. Is it a series about the Holocaust? Yes, it is, but no, it is not. Yes, we touch on the events that took place by the survivor, but we also want to take their journey past 1945 because their journey did not end when the war ended. It only got more difficult for a lot of them. Many did not have a home to go back to. So we want to chronologically tell their stories from the time the war ended until now. Question number two, how did Generation Generation get started? Again, my father kind of gave me the hint, but many years ago after he passed away, I was going around lecturing about the series, and then my wife said, hey, there's something going on locally. Why don't you go down there and see what it is about? I go down there, tell what we're doing, and they said, well, why don't you tell the stories of your survivors, of your father? And I thought really that wasn't going to fly very well. And then I came back and found out that there's a group on Facebook called the Grandchildren of Holocaust Survivors. I put the word out what I wanted to do. We had 5,000 emails come in within a week, all the way from Mexico City to Australia to South Africa and everywhere in between. So here we are, 8 episodes in, either in production or in development. We have one that's out already. And I said, we're currently editing a new episode. Question number 3. What is the goal of Generation to Generation? Well, the goal is to, yes, tell the story of the past, but to remind future generations of what can happen if you forget the lessons that were learned. If you think what happened 75 years ago, 80 years ago cannot happen again, you're highly mistaken. Even our Christian brothers in the Middle East are facing the same atrocities that the Jewish people faced in Eastern Europe. So if we fall asleep on it, then when it happens again, we have only ourselves to blame. So in the next year or two, we plan to put out 8 to 10 more episodes of Generation to Generation. And with that, I'm going to get back to work here. And if you have any questions about what we're doing, we have a website. You can contact us on that, which will be listed, as well as the phone numbers and all kinds of other ways to communicate with us and get a hold of us if you want to learn more about the series or if you have questions about it, or if you know somebody who you would like to document. Okay? And back to work. Travis, where were we? I like that.
The Holocaust, also known as the Shoah, was the World War II genocide of the European Jews. Between 1939 and 1945, across German-occupied Europe, Nazi Germany and its collaborators systematically murdered 6 million Jews, around 2/3 of Europe's Jewish population. 1.5 million were children.  'Cause 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 ' As time passes, those who survived the final solution are quickly fading into history. Soon, there will no longer be eyewitness testimony to the evil of Adolf Hitler and his henchmen. During the genocide, when prisoners knew they would not survive, their last plea was for those who would survive to tell their stories to their children. Let future generations know that they lived. Today, that responsibility falls upon the second generation of Holocaust survivors. Generation to Generation is a documentary series in which the torch of remembrance is passed to the children and grandchildren of survivors, whose turn it is to share with subsequent generations. Painful stories to share, but testimony that needs to be passed on to future generations. Otherwise, history can and will repeat itself. And if that happens, the lessons passed on by the survivors will extinguish